I had they had these
Lou isn't here, so
fried
he can't tell you
salmon
if it was
bites.
good eats or not.
They had these fried salmon bites that were like perfect,
Interesting.
like
Fried?
perfect. Yeah, fried.
Oh,
And then I just got the Alfredo pasta with salmon. The key lime pie was delish. Um,
oh shit, Lou's
I
back.
First of
don't.
Lou's
all,
back.
bro,
Lou's back.
I,
you black, so please use full words when you talk. Don't say delicious, my dog.
my bad.
Secondly,
I can't say
listen,
delish.
Why are you
got to,
gatekeeping
bro.
how what Evan could say?
First of all, don't even
Listen,
start
man. You
because
spend
you
all this
talk.
money on
No, no, no,
on
no.
this wonderful mic, man. Come speak into it, okay?
Nah, man. I'm also on Christian Hills. Like, yeah, we talk about
Oh,
we went here. Talk about. I mean, I heard you. That's the problem. This is the beautiful beauty of AirPods.
there you go. You
Oh,
back,
I
man.
heard you the
You
entire
back.
time.
You think I don't know? You don't hear me? I'm doing it on purpose.
I know you. I know. You are the greatest troll of all time, bro. Like I want
No,
to build
I
a
am not.
bridge.
Do I have time to grab one more before we start?
I
Sure.
would. Yeah,
Nah,
go ahead.
I'd have to leave out my
Lou
equipment.
got up and
I
did
don't
whatever
trust
he. No,
Atlanta
Lou
like
did.
that.
Lou
So.
did
No,
whatever he
I
wanted.
had to. I
No,
had to
we got
move.
an eye on your seat. Don't worry.
I had
We
to
break
move
into
a bit.
cars. If you left it in your car, it'd be an issue. We break into
That's what it
cars.
is. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
I had
yeah.
to. I had to move a car, so that's why I had ran out like that.
We're still recording that. So if they take your computer, we see his face.
You see who's taking. That's true. That's true. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. I want to stay. I want to be coherent for the pod. So.
Now, if the
Oh,
Nutcracker
word.
started moving and took your laptop, then there's nothing I could do about that.
And listen, the little dude start moving right here, bro. Call somebody.
This might turn into a
Save me.
this might turn into a ghost a ghost podcast.
Oh my
Eh,
god.
Listen, we go viral. I'm just saying.
I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.
Welcome to the Welcome to the 3-on-3 podcast. I'm your boy Hans here with Lou and Mr. Christmas himself. Evan, right here, set up with the beautiful background. It's just, you're in the spirit, man. Mr. Holiday. I see it, man. You got your throne here. You got a African-American nutcracker next to you. Last week it was
Shout
a
out.
Christmas tree. You're in the spirit, man.
Listen, man, you got to enjoy it. It comes once a year. You know, you got to really feed into it. So,
Shout out to the holiday cheer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We won't Grinch it up, man. Shout out to you, Ev. In the spirit. Well, guys, we have another great show in store for you today. We're just going to jump right into it. Ball up, fellas. First and foremost, to continue on the spirit, happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year's. But most importantly, happy Haitian Independence Day to all
hey,
my Zoes. Yes, sir. Shout out to the first free Black nation, 1804.
1804 in this set, baby. What's
Yes,
up?
sir. Yes, sir. Got to give my Zoe shout out. Hope everybody's enjoying their soup jumeau. Can't wait. Can't wait. Can't wait.
If
So
you know, you
growing
know.
up, yes, sir. If you know, you know. Growing up for me, Christmas wasn't like a huge holiday. I wasn't like your typical American kid waiting for the gifts under the tree and looking forward to it. For me, Christmas Day was about the NBA. That's what I look forward to. I look forward to being able to sit down in front of the TV and literally watch NBA from noon till night. It was the first time in the year where you can get so many NBA shows on your TV at once. And not to mention, it was the best teams in the league. It was competitive. That was my Christmas present. That's what I look forward to every single year around Christmas time, coming up as a kid. But I'm not going to lie. This year kind of fell short for me. It didn't have the same luster. I didn't see myself running to the TV and turning it on and sitting down and waiting to see these Titans clash as I'm so used to seeing it as I grew up as a child. And my fear is that we're straying away from one of my favorite pastimes as a holiday spirit of NBA Christmas. Now, Ev, since you have the ambiance, the pioneer, Mr. Noel himself, we're gonna start off with you. In this Christmas game mashup, my fear is that we may have sacrificed Santa. We may have sacrificed the Clash of the Titans of Christmas Day for the in-season tournament. My theory is that we have invested, by we I mean the NBA because they don't pay me. They have invested so much in this in-season tournament, so much media, so much attention. The players have bought in that by the time we got to Christmas time, we lost steam. Christmas didn't feel like Christmas this year. You, as our resident expert on the holidays, yes, I'm adorning you with that title. What
I
are your
mean,
thoughts?
You see the homie, you see he got security with him, right?
Listen.
See, he got
what do you-
security with
What are your thoughts, Ed?
Well, couple thoughts. One, when you have a black nutcracker sitting beside you, you can say whatever you want. Nobody's gonna run up on you.
Yo, see, what's wrong with
Um,
you? Chance got a song about that. I might call security.
Two, I don't appreciate you downplaying the Christmas games in any way when the Knicks started off the 5-game slate by
here
beating
we
the
go.
Bucks.
Here we
So
go.
we started off as a high note, and so the
Hey, yo,
Christmas Day
Ev,
games were fine for me.
I got to tag in on that because I told you what I thought was going to be the best game of that day. What I
No
told
one
you was
heard
going to be mostly no, it's fine. Nobody heard it, but he heard it. You know what I mean?
No,
'Cause
meaning it wasn't aired. So you gotta let the people know.
Oh
You
yeah,
call
like
it.
yo, Ev thought. No, that's all. No, it wasn't. But like, you know what I mean? I know Ev be thinking I hate it. I'll be hating on the team, but I told him like, yo, this is gonna be the most exciting game, even though it was the noon game, the earliest game. I wish it was a
Absolutely.
night game. I thought it was. I wish it was a prime time game. However, I thought it was gonna be the most interesting game. You
Well,
got a
you know,
dub. You got a
Nick-
dub.
We avoided getting swept by the Bucks for the season, so that's a good thing. But yeah, got the Christmas Day game there. To your point, the game with the Sixers and the Heat, both Embiid and Jimmy Butler being out that game, you lose a little bit of luster from that standpoint, and that seems to be all too a recurring theme with the Christmas games, injuries impacting them. Yeah, the late game, Phoenix and Dallas, and the bubbling up of some troubles in the valley with Phoenix's almost no show in that game, which we'll talk about some earlier. But I think the big story that we're taking away from this when tying into the in-season tournament is you have the two teams that played in the in-season tournament finals, the Lakers and the Pacers, one of them playing on Christmas Day, the Los Angeles Lakers, been struggling since the in-season tournament championship. You're hearing that the rumors coming up, which, you know, for a LeBron James team, is it new? You know, there's discontent with the roster, not satisfied with the roster, rumors and swing on what their potential trade options could be, veiled shots at the roster. D'Angelo Russell, a scapegoat for the roster, so to speak. Is that
Yeah.
surprising? That was coming into the season. So when you look at this team, you know, their struggles since the in-season tournament, them losing to Boston on Christmas Day. You look at the stats, you know, for the team. LeBron, I mean, he's giving you 25 a game. AD right at 25 a game. I mean, AD's played 30 of 32 games. This has been one of his most consistent starts, at least since the championship season, which we've talked about before. But it's not turning into the amount of wins that you would expect it to. They're in eighth place as of today, as far as where they stand at in the standings. D'Angelo Russell's giving you 15 a game. Austin Reeves is giving you 15 a game. were we expecting more from Austin Reeves coming into this season? And
I
I
think
gave you
so.
my full diatribe on their roster a month ago, so it's not really surprising to me. I look at Christian Wood; he's down to 19 minutes played a game. I mean, this isn't his first rodeo, so we've seen this more than once. So what you're seeing from the Lakers right now is a team that did they peak at the in-season tournament? Did the effort that they put into the in-season tournament have they struggled to find their way since then? And what's that going to mean in these next 2 months as we get into trade deadline season? What moves are they going to be looking at and making? Because all the names are circling around them now. Whether it's the Zach Levines that Pop Mamba doesn't want to hear, the Kyrie Irvings that Pop Mamba doesn't want to hear, names of that nature. You're gonna start hearing those rumors because
If
who's the third person on the roster that's stepping up?
if I'm sorry to interrupt you here,
Oh
but
no, I'm
look,
done.
my
You
my
got it.
my question is this, right? Because from where we're going with this. Bottom line, do you feel like the Christmas game suffered based on the effort given for the in-season tournament?
I think that even before the Christmas Day games, I think that you have a team, a roster of players that I don't like. That
I'm asking yes or no. Do you feel like the the in-season tournament peaked and was and took the place of what like Hans was talking about, looking forward to the Christmas Day games? Do you feel like the in-season tournament took that spotlight?
I don't think it took a spotlight. I think these teams have come out of it struggling. That's what I think.
So my question is this then. So how would we rank the Christmas Day games? Because based on what based on Hans' reaction, it was subpar, right?
Mhm.
So Hans, I would assume you would give it a grade of a C or less. You know what I mean? So
Well,
what
historically, so what I'm grading it to, right, is we at the end of the day, we've spoken about it so many times on this podcast, and we've lauded the accomplishment of the in-season tournament in bringing competitive basketball back to the forefront and really having those who are passionate about the game glued to the screen early on in the season. And it's no secret that the NBA does struggle in the beginning of the season because it's competing with other sports. Football is hot, playoffs, football teams are fighting
college
for contention.
football,
Matter of fact,
NFL, college basketball,
there's yeah,
NHL? Yeah.
there's football being played on Christmas. So, it happened this year. So there's no stranger to that. My fear is that this childhood memory of mine, this childhood ritual of mine of you'd get back to back and it'd be close contested games hitting boom, boom, boom on Christmas Day. We haven't had that for me in so long. And the addition to the in-season tournament, in my opinion, I think puts that Christmas Day in jeopardy. Now, granted, I do still think that the Christmas Day schedule and lineup has value and it has appeal because we know that the NBA has a staple for Christmas, right? Just like the NFL has Thanksgiving, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not saying necessarily go to the extent of doing away with Christmas. What I think is that we have to look at the ripple effects of the in-season tournament and that it may take some luster away. There's this hangover that we're talking about. And I think it drips into the Christmas Day. I've mentioned it. Lakers seem to be dealing with some fog and hangover coming from the in-season tournament. Look at the Pacers. They gone on a losing streak as well. Looking at how they overachieved in a lot of people's opinions as
Yeah.
far as the in-season tournament goes and how they really knocked out a lot of contenders. When you look at their conference, they knocked out the top contenders in their conference, and yet they're outside of the playoff contention, right? Are they even in the play-in? So for me, I think we may have traded in Santa a little bit, or may have devalued Santa a little bit with the in-season tournament. But some will say they're willing to take that risk, right? With every risk that you take, there's some type of sacrifice. And some are willing to take that sacrifice as long as you have the legacy lineups in the Christmas Day game. And I think that's what we have trouble finding is those legacy lineups. Lakers and Celtics are always going to do their things because that's just the history of the league. But there are other things, lineups that we're just going to have to struggle. Like, I don't think we needed to see the Pacers and not the Pacers, I'm sorry, Miami and Philly. Even with them being there, I don't think we needed to see it. I'm gonna be honest. So I think that we
See, the thing
have
is,
the NBA is gonna run into that, especially since the Christmas lineup is made so far in advance.
yeah. I think that by virtue of the fact of what, for instance, like the Sixers, brought up Sixers Heat, what the Sixers and Heat did last year puts them in the position where the NBA feels like they should be a Christmas Day game. You're talking about teams that have
Wait,
been.
you said say it again about the Lakers?
I'm sorry, I'm Sixers and Heat. Sixers and Heat in terms of them being in the Christmas Day game based on what they've done previously, right? So teams that have been Eastern Conference Finals teams, NBA Finals teams, yeah, those are going to be teams based, especially because they're made in advance. You're like, okay, these are teams we're going to run back and we're going to put in the Christmas Day. So I can understand why certain teams were chosen, but to be honest, I don't think necessarily the Christmas Day games were affected in terms of like it was lackluster because of the in-season tournament. The Pacers are who we thought they would be. I think the league is starting to figure out the Pacers at this point. And seeing what they've been doing, they don't have a number two. They don't have a number two.
I think I'm jumping in real quick. I think LeBron and the Lakers put the blueprint out on playing the Pacers, and they've been struggling ever since. Continue.
And no, but I'm saying,
they exposed them.
But that's what I'm saying. You bring up a perfect point because what we talked about, we didn't expect, mind you, again, even though the Sixers had been playing well, since the beginning of the season, they still were not a top 4 team. If we were having this discussion about Orlando, all right, that might be I'm sorry, the Pacers. The Pacers had not been a top 4 team. So like how we've been talking about Orlando, right? And Orlando had the particular success that the Pacers are having, and then to come then to the Christmas game and just really be lackluster or then be struggling since, even though we are seeing like the Orlando kind of come back to earth, we knew that the Pacers were overachieving. They don't have enough. Halliburton is their 1 and 2. You know what I mean? And to be successful in this league, to really be a top tier team in this league, to be a championship caliber team, you need to have a number 2. So I'm not particularly surprised, right? I think, what it comes down to is what we're seeing is I don't think it's necessarily fatigue from the in-season tournament. When we talked about this, I said it's like, the Lakers going after particularly winning the in-season tournament was because it's a legacy play, right? So they're going to put a particular effort in winning that. Do I think that it necessarily meant that they were going to scoff or kind of take a backseat or just kind of lay off on the Christmas game? Not necessarily, because at the end of the day, it's still a primetime game. So I can't necessarily agree that the in-season tournament is, we're seeing a byproduct of teams not necessarily performing because of that. But the in-season tournament does give, like I was saying before, it gives the teams who may not necessarily be in playoff or championship contention an opportunity because, hey, it's what can you do today? We're one and done, right? It's a one in elimination. Can I beat you tonight? And if I can beat you tonight, if I can figure out a way to beat you tonight, then I'm going to move on. So, these top tier teams that didn't make it to the end of, as champions or in the championship running of the in-season tournament, I think it's just strictly a byproduct of the nature of what kind of tournament it is, man. It's like, what were you able to do tonight? I mean, it's a long season to go, but the games, the Christmas games, I think there's some other things in terms of the NBA they have to figure out. I mean, Adam Silver is doing some things in terms of like, you can't be considered for particular awards. You can't be considered for particular contracts if you don't play X amount of games Unfortunately, this may, the Christmas game that happened may be one of those games that people sit, Embiid sat, which, for
Well,
me, I thought was something that shouldn't have happened, right? Or,
no, he got legitimately hurt though. He
no,
actually
no,
rolled his ankle the game
yeah,
before.
yeah,
I think what I think
yeah.
now what I think happened is the the mix of the teams didn't end up being the best based on how they're playing at this time. Had you picked, I mean, they picked the names coming into the season that sounded like the best games, but when you don't have an Anthony Edwards in your Christmas game, when he's on one of the best teams in the league, when you don't have a Shea out there,
Yeah.
when they're Shea Gilly, when they're one of the best teams in the league right now. Heck, crazy enough, when you don't have the Clippers out there, when they're playing as well as they're playing right now, right?
So you
The
only name one
Knicks-
team that's in a major market. There's never going to be a Christmas game with teams that aren't in a major market.
Well, that's part of
That's
that's
not
part
true.
of this.
That's not
Well,
true.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not true.
OKC,
Then what?
Portland was in there. Cavs
Yeah.
Who
was
did
in
they
there.
play?
Yeah.
Who did they play?
Oh, they're gonna
Who
play
did
a
they-
major market team, yeah.
That's
They're
what I'm
gonna-
saying.
but
It
when
doesn't
you
matter who.
have-
There's always going to be a major market team in the Christmas game, regardless of who the opponent is. There may be a team that might be doing well or be better. That's their opponent. But there is a major market team that will be on that Christmas game period.
Well, historically speaking, anyway, though, and I'm going to give you the mic. Is the major market teams are significant enough to keep it going? I think what Ev's alluding to, and the point I was going to make, is the NBA needs to change it up on the scheduling, because scheduling too far in advance is at a disadvantage right now, especially when you're looking at the numbers. At the end of the day, they're competing. It's a business. They're competing with the NFL. The NFL dominated the viewership on the Christmas
well, they
day,
played it
right?
They played the day before.
But
They played on
but-
the 24th.
no,
they played the
the-
whole weekend.
They played the
They didn't play the
24th.
no.
They
They played the
24th,
25th too.
25th.
They played
Who
the
26th.
played on the
25th.
20? Who played on the 25th?
I'm looking at the stats. They played on the 25th. So
The Ravens and the Niners played at night. The Giants and the Eagles played at 4, and I forget the Raiders and the Chiefs
Raiders
played the first
played.
game.
Oh
the
yeah, the
NBA
Raiders
having
won.
the NFL play on Sunday or on Monday as they were playing the Christmas Day games was the worst thing that ever happened to them, because
Yeah.
that Baltimore Ravens game got about like 23.5 million viewers.
million.
That's
Like,
some-
and
that's
the
some
highest
bad
trading
hours.
NBA game was 5 million with the Lakers and the Celtics. So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, the NBA has to do something different and has to be more fluid in those matchups. Ev said it. I would have loved to see Shea Gilly, as Lou affectionately calls him, on Christmas Day. I would have loved to see that. At the end of the day, we, just like you're building up the in-season tournament, you need to continue with that as well. Just build it up. And NBA doesn't need help after the All-Star break. After the All-Star break, it gets more competitive. We know what's happening. Teams are jostling and for playoff contention, et cetera. It kind of has a well-oiled machine kind of going. But I feel like we need to go away with the predetermined teams, an NBA Christmas schedule coming out, and have it something to be more fluid. And of course, you're gonna have to figure out giving teams weeks in advance to prepare, et cetera, et cetera. But if you did it with the in-season, you can kind of do it.
So
Have
quick,
it to be more fluid, so we can have entertaining product to watch.
So a quick little thing from what you're saying, Hans, and exactly what I'm thinking. The NBA needs to do what the NFL does, where in certain Thursday night football games or Sunday night football games, they'll have, if the teams aren't matching up well, they'll flex it. So they'll put other teams in there in that slot because they feel like that would be a better product. So
That's
I
what you
know it's a
have to
little
do.
harder. It's a little harder for NBA because they have more games. NFL is just once a week, so they need to figure that out. But maybe that's a solution: is to,
Yeah.
The Celtics and Lakers aren't. Oh no, they'll always have them. The Knicks and someone else. They're not as good as we thought they were going to be. So let's flex them and put OKC versus whatever. And I'm not trying to pick on Evan Knicks. I'm just trying to think of a team
The
that
Knicks Bucks game was the best game. I mean,
Right.
the Knicks Bucks game was the best game.
But we
Sprays
major
all over.
market is going to happen every single time.
But that's something
It's
that,
going to be the
that
Lakers. The Knicks haven't been every single time,
the
though.
Lakers will always be there. The Knicks will always be there.
The Knicks have played
Celtics.
more Christmas games than any other team at 56, and we are second in wins at 23.
Okay. There you have it.
How
But
many of them was
that's
Kim
something they
Melo?
should consider is flexing these major holiday games. Martin Luther King Day, that's another a big day for
But the NBA, yeah,
Definitely.
we dominate that. Yeah. It's just, I think there needs to be that same forethought put into it. At the end of the day, certain things you can't manage, injuries, you can't manage that. And this now in season hangover, which we're seeing that the Lakers are struggling with, the Pacers are struggling with. But mentioning the Lakers, before we move on to our next topic, Christian, I have you on the mic. Gilbert Arenas went on his social media, on his podcast with Uncle Shay, and they were talking about the Lakers, and Gilbert was saying that he himself could outshoot any of the Lakers 3-point shooters right now. He'd do it with one
Gil
hand.
was a bad man back in his day, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
And he says he could do it right now, not back then. He says he can do it right now.
All right. Well, Gil says
Right
other
now.
things.
Right now. I, for one, would
Do you
love
believe
to say
it?
that.
Do you believe in the Pop Mamba?
Right now, no.
Right
Who
now,
is
you
he?
don't
I
think
don't-
Gil?
Who's
don't think-
You
beating
don't
him?
think Gil could
Who's
outshoot
beating
them?
him? Don't
I think
say.
I think D'Lo is a better shooter than Gil right now.
Right now, really?
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
Wow.
you guys make fun of AR's celebration, but AR has a really nice stroke. No pause. Don't pause it. I'm gonna let it.
Don't pause you there. Keep it going.
He's,
Check
he
that-
does.
checks
If you look,
that-
if you look at
checks
his
that
shooting,
pressure.
if you look at AR's shooting form, it's really nice. I mean, even during the summer, like I felt like every shot he was
Hey, yo,
taking beyond
Ev.
the 3-point arc was going in.
The
Ev,
unfortunate
I thi-
part about
Ev, I
that
think I need
take- go
I
ahead.
think I need a drink after. I need a ship after.
No, no,
that.
no. So what Christian is
Listen.
saying, he enjoys watching AR stroke it. That's what he was saying.
I mean,
The
and not so many
unfortunate
words, I
part,
guess, yeah.
the unfortunate part about that take is he mentioned D'Lo as his supporting evidence, and D'Lo's probably not going to be on the team in the next month or two.
well, that's
so
a whole different
does-
discussion
wh-
about
where
making
does that
D'Lo a
leave?
scapegoat. Because I don't think D'Lo is the problem in that team, but that's just me.
I don't think D'Lo is the problem. I've said my
D'Lo is
take already on the Lakers.
D'Lo is gonna go through what Westbrook went through. They're gonna choose a scapegoat. They're gonna get him out of there.
It's a LeBron issue. That's what it
Thank
is.
you.
It's a
That's all
LeBron
it comes
issue.
down to. But
The-
period.
He doesn't compliment LeBron well.
Every team, every
not
personnel
even
change.
that.
This happened on the Lakers. No, it is that because you've seen why is BI out of there? Why is Randall out? Why is all of these guys out of there? Why?
Could run a better lineup too, though. They could change the lineup.
Thank you.
Like they don't have to play alongside.
child-
Like you could change the lineup.
My challenge with leaning too hard into getting takes from Christian on the Lakers is that we're in a group chat with him, and we can't allow him to say half the stuff he sends in that group chat. on this
Yeah, we'll get
podcast.
canceled. We'll get canceled.
So,
I don't even say
we'll
anything
get
that's worth
canceled.
canceling. I don't know what you're talking about.
I
All
mean,
this,
you know, there's some pictures we won't bring up, but
There's some nicknames we don't need to bring up either.
There's some nicknames that
All
we
I
can't
know
touch
is
on.
if somebody got into our what's it called, our cloud, bro.
Don't give him any
golly.
ideas. Don't give him any ideas.
Yeah, man, relax.
all the things I send you guys is already on Twitter. So I mean, I don't.
That's fair. That's fair. Twitter's not a safe space.
Listen,
All right.
but I agree. I think the Lakers' problems is that the lineups. Darvin keeps on changing the lineups. If there's no fluidity to the lineups, I mean, how are you supposed to get a consistent feel for your starters? I mean, you can't have a starting five in the IST do really well and then all of a sudden just change it after
So
that.
So my question is
Hold
this.
on, watch this layup here real quick.
Oh,
Lou.
go ahead.
How many minutes has Darvin Ham played the roster that led y'all to the Western Conference Finals
Oh,
last
thank you.
year?
Zero. The
So
roster that got us to the Western Conference Finals has not played one fucking minute this season.
Wow.
So, but
Bang.
yeah, well, look, I really have nothing to say. Never mind. I was gonna ask a
Bang.
question, but
All right, Houston, we have a problem. We have a problem. And it's not the Lakers lineup. Well, it is, but we have another problem. Are the Houston Rockets for real? Now listen to me. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Coming into the season, we all thought that the Houston Rockets were going to be where the San Antonio Spurs are, where my Portland Trailblazers are, and possibly where Detroit is currently. Well, maybe not as bad as Detroit, but we'll get there. That's a little foreshadowing. We'll get there. But they're actually outperforming everybody's expectation. They're winning games. They're actually beating solid teams. Should Houston be taken seriously? Thoughts, concerns? As of right now, they put up a fight. They put up a fight. I mean, they lost to the 76ers, but it was close. Granted, no Embiid, but nonetheless, they're really out here fighting, competing. Are they worth acknowledging, especially in the Wild Wild West?
So
What's the last team they beat?
last
You
team
said the
didn't
last
beat-
team they beat?
Yeah, who's the last team they beat? Just out of
Yeah,
curiosity.
wasn't there Charlotte the other night?
Yes.
Well, and then they lost to
Nah, I think the last.
Philadelphia
I think-
tonight as they're recording.
Last team they beat was New Orleans.
Yeah, it was New Orleans. It was the Pelicans.
New Orleans.
So,
my fault.
so they're on a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Indiana. They lost to Phoenix. They lost to
Here-
Philly. As we
I-
record today on Friday.
Here's the thing, man. I do not think that I think they're a good young team. I think they're figuring it out, but I think they're too inconsistent. So no, I don't take them seriously. I think they'll go on runs. I think they'll do formidable stuff, but no, I do not think, because one of the big things is who's their number two? Who's their number two? Who's their number one, actually? Who would y'all say is
You're asking
Houston?
the wrong question.
Not, but that was the reason why I said the number two, because I was getting to it. The
Dylan
number
Brooks.
He's going to stare them down into contention. But in all fairness, yes, they are coming down a little bit, but they're still playing a lot better than anybody. As we speak, they are the 9th seed. So I'm not saying they're out here, they're going to, take us to the second round of the playoffs or anything like that. But
I'd be
they
surprised
are
if they get
playing
into the
pretty
playoffs.
well.
I was surprised if they get into the playoffs.
I
I think they got
they're-
the good pieces together. I think Dylan Brooks is a great piece in terms of an addition to them. I think
Here's
we're
my thing,
seeing-
bro. With the current structure of the play-in, it's possible, bro.
It is possible, but who would they have to beat to get in? And that's what I think. The problem on that thing that Houston have is if they end up in a situation where they have to be in the play-in and they're playing, let's say, a Golden State, they don't have the pedigree or the experience to be able to get through that. For one,
Bro,
for two-
Golden State got knocked out of the play-in 2 years ago. Golden State is
2021.
inconsistent. If you turn them
by
over,
who?
if
Lakers.
you turn them over,
That's what I'm
if
saying.
you turn
is-
them over, they're gonna lose. So especially the Golden State is current. I don't have faith in that.
But not-
I won't
but
put
not to
money
Houston.
on the
but not
Steph
to
can't
Houston.
carry a
Golden
team.
State.
Not to Houston, though.
Steph
I'm
can't
not
carry a team.
against Houston. Not against Houston. Not against.
I think Houston can do it. I think Houston can face anybody in the play-in right now. And if Van Fleet has a crazy game, if Jalen Green has a game, like they are to me a team that really can knock
So
out
they're
a
a dark
team
horse
and
team
have
for
them
you.
looking and have
So
you
they're-
looking like, oh snap. Like they will mess up the TV ratings of a playoff, like a first playoff. Like you out here thinking you're gonna see whoever's in the plan right now. I know the Lakers are down there. You're thinking you're gonna see the Lakers and whatever, and they knock off the Lakers, and you're out here seeing the Rockets
Lies.
versus, OKC, and you're like, oh, okay.
What I do think about OKC, I'm sorry, Houston. What I really like about them is like, realistically, I think Sengun is one of the best bigs, young bigs that I like out right
He
now.
was balling the other day.
He was balling since last season, and really what he's
I
he's
tuned in,
continuing this
bro.
season. But this is why I was asking in terms of like who they number two, right? Because obviously they wanted They wanted to be their number one, right? They want Jalen Green to be their number one. Kevin Porter Jr. was supposed to be that. Jabari
We
Smith
don't
to
have
me
that.
is way too inconsistent. I mean, he has some great games and then he goes super cold. When I think if they start thinking about how do we build around Sengun, they have a solid chance of really starting to be a team that can make some noise. But I think they have issues in terms of who's their number one? What's their identity as a team? Maybe you know, what I mean, their coach now can help bring that together, especially with some veterans like Van Vliet and Brooks. But I think the problem is that they're still too young of a team. They're gonna be inconsistent. They're gonna go on some runs, but I also think that you know they're still too young, don't have enough pieces yet to really start making noise. So I'm not jumping off that cliff yet to say like, yo, they're better than what we think. But that remains to be seen. I could be wrong by All-Star break, but right now I don't see it. I don't see it because I don't think they figured it out yet.
Well, what you just said is the issue with the team. So I mean, they're I look at them as a team in three parts. Şengün, absolutely. I mean, 21, 9, and 5. He's looking Sabonis like, baby Jokic like, transcendent steal of a pick. Van Vliet and Brooks being as expected in my opinion, bringing just some adults into the room, some cohesion.
You said adults.
Some adult.
Nah,
Listen,
real
for
talk. Yo,
I mean,
look what
we
Eric
talk
Gordon
about Dylan
was.
Brooks.
You
Yeah,
remember
we talk-
Eric Gordon on that team? Eric
Yeah.
Gordon was the adult on that team. He didn't deal with the kids.
Exactly,
but,
exactly.
but
But
Brooks
bringing
and
some
Van Vliet
adults in
are
the
young
room.
enough to be able to connect with them still, like Ed was
Exactly.
talking about.
Bringing some adults in the room who Dylan Brooks has just spent 3-4 years playing with young players on the come up, right? Is he the best at it? No, but he's also kind of a scapegoat in Memphis as well. So I still say an adult in the room. Of course, you bring in a coach, and Ime Udoka is going to bring some accountability to everybody on the roster. The reason they're 15-15 right now is because of those parts right there. The reason they're not better than 15-15 is because of the plateauing of their lottery picks the last 2 years. Jalen Green's giving you 17 points a game, shooting 39% from the field. This is not what they expected from him when they drafted him as a top pick 2 years ago. Jabari Smith giving you 14 and 8 a game, decent. 10 shots a game, though. A number 2 pick, number 3 pick should be giving you more than 10 shots a game and more than 14 points a game. They are right at where they should be with their roster, with their coaching, and with a transcendent player like Şengün overachieving. But they're not going to be further than that, in my opinion, until those two guys specifically, Jalen Green and Jabari Smith, step up, or they turn one of those two into somebody better. That's the story of Houston in a nutshell to me. I mean, great story for a team that ended the season 22-60 last year. So I mean, well above that pace.
And that's my point
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Given where they were and what they're doing right now, I for one have been a little amazed that they're overachieving like that. I didn't expect this coming.
Well, I think we discounted what Van Vliet would bring, and we definitely discounted what Dylan Brooks would bring because of how we saw it end in Memphis.
Also, I don't think that we expected
players.
Şengün to be what he is right now.
And we absolutely didn't expect
I mean,
so,
so
a combination of those three is what gets you, to where they're at this point. But it does gloss over I've been calling this since we did our preseason look at the beginning of the year, the underachievement of their lottery picks. They've got to figure that part out.
Right. And honestly, man, look, here's where I disagree with you, Ab. Like, yo, in terms of you saying one of these two guys, in terms of Jabari and Green being the guy, their guy that they turn into, who is their better number one. Şengün should be the guy that they're building around. Again, what in terms of the production that they're having now, what is our cornerstone and with the most success that we've had in our offense, right? Or not? I mean, and that's Şengün. So,
but you didn't draft those two players to be what they are right now. They're disappointments right now.
I understand, but like,
do you that's the number 2 and number 3 draft picks.
But the question is, do you want to win or not?
But exactly, do you want to win or not?
Do you want to win?
Draft those two players at that position. What I'm saying is, those two players are underachieving, right? They should be better than they are. So either they are better and the situation isn't working for them, or Yes, you got lucky with Sengun in the mid-teens, right? But you significantly miscalculated two high-quality picks there.
But
And
dog,
so
we see
now
that
you
all the
have
time in the league, bro. So are you gonna pivot or not? That's basically what I'm saying. Is
we're saying the
Houston
same
going to?
thing. We're
Yeah,
saying the same thing.
yeah,
You have to, but what's the pivot going to be from the,
yeah,
if they
That's
continue
what
at
it
their
is.
pace, you got to figure out what the pivot from them is going to be.
yeah. Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
if there is a pivot.
Yeah.
Facts.
If there is a pivot, because like you were alluding to, Evan, is that they're very much so inconsistent. So Green could drop 23 and then the next game he's in single digits. So there's definitely
Exactly what I said about Jabari. Like he's been showing that since last season.
Mhm.
improvements that need to be done. But on the other end of this spectrum, we have the LA Clippers. So since the rocky start with the whole James Harden trade, they went on a losing streak, but they have seemed to figure it out and they are trending in the right direction. They're winning games and they are fourth in the West, if I'm not mistaken, as we speak.
I think they've only
So,
lost 2 games in December.
and
Yeah.
I would attribute those losses to Kawhi being hurt. He got a hip injury right there, and that's affected them defensively, but they're trending in the right direction. I will say this. One thing I will put out there that other people aren't really saying is I give credit to Tyronn Lue. I like what he's doing on some lineups and how he's pairing different people together, how he's staggering Harden. And of course, we all know what Westbrook did and put himself on the bench, but I do like the staggering and the different lineups that Tyronn Lue is putting out there.
Must be nice.
I say it again.
Must be nice.
It must be nice to get different lineups out there, huh? Lineups that work. I'm so done with you, Christian. So I do like that there. Are we believers? Is this a lightning in a bottle situation, or is this something that we are going to continue to see with the Clippers moving forward? Are they going to be up there contending for the West Coast?
I would say that everything that we're seeing right now speaks to, I put it to you this way. Kawhi, 27 out of 30 games played. Paul George, 28 out of 30 games played. Everything we've seen from those two the last 4 years speaks to that won't last. James Harden showing up at a new team, looking on his best behavior, looking his best, fitting in, elevating the floor of the team, the ceiling of the team. We've seen that chapter before. Everything we've seen before says that won't last. Russell Westbrook moving to the bench, not hearing a peep out of him, not hearing any discontention about him, chemistry looking perfect. I won't say everything we've seen before, but I'm dubious on will that last. So does the Clippers as a whole, what I'm seeing right now, yes, 8-2 in their last 10. They've risen from like 9th in the West to 4th in the West. Everything right now looks like best case scenario for since this trade has taken place in their last month, and can't knock them for that because the ceiling looks high. But you got to question, will that last based on the history that we've seen from all the players involved?
And might I add, is also they all have the Paul George and Kawhi specifically all have 1 year left on that contract.
And Harden's playing for a contract.
He
And
is, I was about to
Westbrook's
say.
playing for a contract. So they all playing for a contract, really.
So this may be the perfect storm for them to go out there and prove it, though, and prove everybody wrong, right? So
But
to your
how many?
to your take is that they haven't been available, they are available. So if they go out there knowing it's the last year to show everybody wrong, to prove the doubters wrong, this may be the year that they show us what the Clippers are supposed to be, or what everybody thought they were going to be.
What the Clippers are supposed to be. That's funny, huh?
I'm being real. Like, what's their Achilles heel has been injuries.
They've never won the finals.
Just
What are
saying.
they No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But it only has to last through June, is your point, right? So how long can it last? Will it last through June? Questionable, but that's all. I mean, it only has to last through then.
All I will say
they
is
want.
we've all seen what happens when Harden is the system. So that's all I'll say about that.
I don't think he's a system here, or not as much as a system.
When he,
From what I've seen, and I've been watching the Clippers.
No,
I've
mind
been
you,
watching it.
don't get me wrong, because again, he's in a situation where he's playing with guys that are like, yo,
And that's what
Harden,
it is.
he's not gonna be able to push Paul George and Kawhi like you guys are you guys are my background singers. No, not at all. And but I think at the end of the day is we'll see. We'll see. I'm like
I'll
I
say
said,
this:
you got to keep it through June. We'll see.
if Kawhi goes down, so let's say this hip turns into something crazy, which his history of injury has shown anything can happen. I think if Kawhi goes down, it goes down. Because to your take, he's the one that's stopping that Harden takeover. He's the one that's stopping that. If you see how Lou plays the lineups, he's very strategic in that, and I guess that's just my proclivity towards Teron,
Hey, yo,
towards Lou.
some of my man that reads. He be reading.
He's very mindful of the social aspect and what the extracurriculars that they bring on the court and how it shows itself on the court. And I think he's managing that very well. But we're gonna move on, y'all, to the the struggle bus that we got going on here. So we have Detroit Pistons right now, as we record, a league record of 28 straight losses. 28 straight losses. I, for one, am amazed that it went on this long. And it's getting to the point now where you're seeing teams be ultra competitive against them because they don't want to be the ones to break the streak. And it's also, to me, kind of like, dang, that's messed up, bro. Like, you got to continue to keep them going on the streak. Like, I get you don't want to be the ones that lose to Detroit, but at the same time, like, you're continuing the streak as well. Like, that is just so, it's like they're ganging up on this team and bullying them. But at the same time, the ball in us is like, win a game. Win a game.
You're a professional.
That's what Kuz said on Twitter. He said at this point, we don't want to be the team to lose to the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, like who wants to be that? What's going on there, guys? What are you guys seeing? What are you seeing? I mean, they took the Celtics to OT though, so they have recently in the last Brooklyn game, the Celtics game. There's two games I kind of tuned in on, the most recent ones. I saw a more competitive edge. Is that what it is? Are they now deciding to compete since they're getting embarrassed now, since they've made it into the history books for the wrong reasons?
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead, Luke.
Now, I'm not saying professionals. So at the end of the day, is like I don't think anybody comes into the NBA to lose. Period. So I think there's some
process.
This again.
That's what's unique about this situation.
But that's a front office thing. That's not a player thing.
Are they going to break the Sixers record?
Then the Sixers 28 was their record across 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It was either 28 or 29.
But it was across 2 seasons. They did this in a single season.
No, didn't the Sixers break the record for least amount of wins in a season? Wasn't it like
I thought it was
less than 10?
You're saying least amount of wins.
Yeah, so didn't the Sixers get less than 10 wins?
So you're talking about another stat. Okay.
It's either them or the Bobcats, I think, had 9.
Yeah. Something crazy. It was a single digit thing that was kind of crazy. But point being is like, I don't think any of these guys lace up. We're nowhere near professionals. I mean, yeah, you get paid, but at the end of the day, it's like, this is still embarrassing. And these guys are young enough where I know that, we in the social media era rather. So every day you wake up, could you imagine somebody tweeting you, yo, you trash every day? Every day, yo.
Yeah,
after every loss, you're trash.
Yeah, D'Lo.
Yeah, but with the Pistons, like you guys are really not. Yeah, like your team really is trash. Like that's kind of crazy. But I mean, look, I think with the like for instance the Boston game, I think the script was scripting. You know what I mean? Like just as a funny tidbit, right? I remember when that game was going on, and I was looking on Twitter. It was like, or rather, X, whatever it's called. The Detroit Pistons money line was the highest betted prop that entire day. It was by far, I'm talking about thousands of people. It was like, oh yeah, it was plus, I think it was plus 1,000, something like that. People bet on that money line. I mean, obviously all those people who bet that lost. But I think we'd be remiss in not thinking there's some benefit in people being able to mess with those stats. But the Pistons, I think whatever's happening, if the front office wants to completely tank, that's one thing. But I do think that teams are actually going to, ironically, play them harder than they would, because they don't want to be that team to lose to the worst team in the league, because you already know, like, that's bragging rights for them, and that's bragging rights for everybody else to come talk trash about you. Like, yo, you really lost to the Pistons.
But what I also think is amazing, though, is this shows to the new era that we're in. You see how much steam this has picked up in social media. They're making memes with the numbers of losses that they have, and it's turned into something of a spectacle within itself. Whereas years past, you wouldn't really have this much of a spectacle for a losing team.
No,
And I think
no.
it is fueling the competitive nature of other teams to be like, yo, we don't want to be the one to lose, but also like, let's keep this going. Let's pile on. Like, let's keep
Yeah.
it going.
Yeah.
So
But,
I am not saying that these NBA players are not putting in the effort. I will say this: the front offices, they came out earlier a couple weeks ago saying that they're not going to change anything. They're not going to do anything. So you can't look for them to do anything. I think it's up to the coach and the players to figure this out and string a win or two together. And the way it's looking, their weakest opponents aren't till January 10th and the 15th. So the Spurs, Wizards, we'll see.
that point right there is the point. It speaks to the quality. Well, one, it speaks to the quality of the league, that we have so many decent teams right now, that there's only a couple truly bad teams out there right now, and the Spurs with Wemby are one of them. But
You ain't have
the
to say
other
Wemby.
part,
You ain't have to
well,
say
the
Wemby.
other part, I did.
You ain't have to say Wemby.
The other
dropped
part
30
it
the other
speaks
night, though,
to the
on
other
my
part
team.
that it speaks to is
You could have said
with
Spurs
the
and
with
rookie
the
of the year.
number. Yeah, well, he
Wemby,
won't be. He
Jaime,
won't be that though.
Scoot,
But the thing is,
top
with the
three
quality
rookies.
of teams that it has, it exposes the poor roster management of the
The
Detroit
Lakers.
Pistons. You have when you spend extra money for Marvin Bagley, when you trade for James Wiseman, when you already have Jalen Duren that you've drafted, when you draft Killian Hayes at guard, when you draft Jaden Ivey at guard, and you have Kate Cunningham at guard, and K's the only one that can reasonably shoot right now. You hardly even play Ivy because you feel you can't play him with Cade, and Killian Hayes hasn't shown you anything. When you have Bogdanovich on
Hayes
your
is also
team,
injured as well.
and when you have Bogdanovich on your team and Alec Burks on your team, and you're not winning games, but you neglect to even trade them and get some value for them, there's no reason those two players should even still be on your team, right?
Right.
It just speaks to overall, there's not a glaring poor decision that their front office has made, but it's that accumulation of some subpar decisions mixed with the quality of the team of the league as a whole that makes it hard for them to find a win, so to speak. So that's the issue with Detroit in a nutshell. I mean, and granted, listen, they could go out tomorrow night and win, and this could all be done with. But if we go off of the teams that that looks like when you might see a win on their record, on their schedule, it might be a while. But I mean, knowing the way our takes have been these last couple of weeks, we doing this recording today. They might beat the
They'll
Raptors
win the
tomorrow
next.
night.
They might go on a
right?
5-game winning streak.
Right. This might be the best thing to happen for them. So they in good shape, man.
Then I'll cut this whole segment if that happens.
Put it on the cutting room floor. All right, guys. Last one before we head out real quick. Phoenix, they're struggling right now. They are on a losing couple streak. Lost a couple games.
I think they won their last one.
Last 10.
Yeah,
So
they're in their last 10.
They're not looking so hot. Bradley's slated to possibly be available for the next coming up game. Don't know if that means anything for them. I, for one, am not surprised that they're struggling like this.
Look, even the wins that you mentioned, Golden State, Houston. What was the other team that they won against? Well, Washington. I think that was the other team that they won against. Then it's not even like they're winning against any formidable teams for real, and they're barely winning. Yeah,
I don't see him. I don't see him staying where they're at too long. I think they have to figure out who they are on the defensive end too.
They're beating the Hornets right now.
Yeah,
But it's
the
also
Hornets.
assuming that they'll be healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've had health issues, but also too, like defensively, they need to figure it out.
Yeah. But
It's
I don't
the-
think Phoenix has ever been a defensive team.
But
ever.
listen,
it's
what
gone
begs
are
the
the days
question
where you
of-
could just outscore everybody.
This
It's
what
the
begs the
flip side
question,
of
guys.
what we said coming in. Go
Does
ahead,
the
go ahead, Frank.
3-star system work?
It works when they're healthy, and it works when you.
But they haven't had 3
a
stars. They've had
semblance of
2.
a roster around them. When you
Yeah.
have the 3-star system, one of them has only played 6 games, the other one's missed 11 games, and your next 3 players in as far as talent on the roster behind those 3 are
Cameron
Yusuf
Payne.
Nurkic,
No,
Eric
campaigns with the
Gordon,
Bucks now.
and
Oh, yeah,
Grayson
well.
Allen. Nurkic.
Eric Gordon says he wants a bigger
Eric-
role. Give
Please
him the
don't ever
ball.
bring up Grayson Allen again. I hate him. Thank you.
You didn't
Well,
have
I
to say
mean-
Nurkic again. I'm just
Well,
saying. You
okay.
didn't have to say that.
Well-
So listen to y'all's reaction to the next 3 players on their roster, right? And again, the 3rd star has only played 6 games. So when that's your roster makeup, yeah, you're gonna struggle to be consistent and be towards the top. I mean, so that's what
Is
we're
that
seeing with them.
consequences of their actions though?
Absolutely. They didn't have to trade
gave
for
up too
Bradley
much.
Beal. And so
Yeah,
here's the
listen.
thing. They fired Monty Williams, right? The biggest thing the issue that Monty Williams had outside of record was his discontent with DeAndre Ayton, right? So choose one, either fire Monty or trade Ayton. They ended up doing both. They traded Ayton and they traded Chris Paul, right? In the totality of moves that ended up bringing them Bradley Beal in. But what you did, in addition to throwing in Mikal Bridges in the Durant deal that may not have had to have been done to begin with. So a lot of new owner syndrome here. You got a new owner. He sees these big flashy names, right? I want Durant, I want Booker, I want Bill. Well, you gave up a team in the process to do so.
Mhm.
And so
Yo.
where we talked about the best case scenario for the Clippers, this is close to the worst case scenario for the Suns through this point.
Yo, Hans, I have a question for you. When's the last time you remember a team gave up a bunch of they gave up a team for a player?
That was the last time I remember.
Yeah.
Lakers for Russell Westbrook.
They gave up everybody for Russ.
But
Losing
I-
KCP.
I-
I mean,
I-
we can
I-
use
I-
it right
no,
now.
no.
similar though.
I think they already had stars there, right? So they already had LeBron and AD there, right? So I think it was
That's
the
kinda
East Coast,
similar, though.
Eastern Conference.
You
Oh,
gotta call it out.
Knicks. That was the Knicks with the Melo trade, right? And they
Hey,
gave
man, I'm sorry. What's the
My
mute
bad, bro.
button?
my bad.
Sorry,
bro. I
muted
put
you,
myself on
muted
mute.
you.
I put myself.
But I'll give you this. But I'll give you this parallel though. I'll give you this parallel. Had Amari Stoudemire stayed healthy,
Agreed.
had Chauncey Billups not blown his Achilles or ACL one, had Tyson Chandler stay healthy, that might have been a different scenario for the
And that's
Knicks.
why I'm bringing
But
it up.
exactly. But like you're saying, one of those stars gets hurt, breaks down,
The whole thing
and
falls
now
apart.
you don't have a roster behind you
Yeah.
to stand it up. So, as much as I hated to hear it, very good point, Lou. Very good point.
OT's gonna be great.
And with that note, y'all, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. As always, please, if you want some more additional content, slide on over. Slide in our OT. You can slide in our DMs too. We're fine with that. But slide on over to OT. We got additional content for you guys. As always, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time. Happy New Year.
What's up, guys, and thanks for listening. I want you to do 2 things for me right now. 1, give this episode a thumbs up, and 2, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on all the socials at the 3on3 Podcast and send us an email at the 3on3podcast@gmail.com. We appreciate you, and tune in next week.